The Khilji dynasty or Khalji was a Muslim dynasty of Turkic origin, long settled in Afghanistan, which ruled large parts of South Asia between 1290 and 1320. It was founded by Jalal-ud-Din Firuz Khilji and became the second dynasty to rule the Delhi Sultanate of India. The dynasty is known for their faithlessness and ferocity, as well as their raids into Hindu South and defending the Sultanate against the repeated Mongol invasions of India. Origins. The Khilji rulers traced their roots to Central Asia and were of Turkic origin. They had long been settled in what is now Afghanistan before proceeding to Delhi in India. The name Khilji refers to an Afghan village or town known as Khalji. Sometimes they were treated by others as ethnic Afghans due to their adoption of some Afghan habits and customs. As a result of this, sometimes the dynasty is referred to as a Turco-Afghan. The three sultans of the Khalji dynasty were noted by historians for their faithlessness and ferocity. Jalal-ud-Din Khilji, Aksharuddin Muhammad bin Baksha Khilji was a servant of Qutb-ud-Din Aibak, who was an ex-slave of the Urids with a Turkic background. Khaljis were vassals of the Mamluk dynasty of Delhi and served the Sultan of Delhi, Ghiyas-ud-Din Balban. Balban's successors were murdered over 1289 to 1290, and the Mamluk dynasty succumbed to the factional conflicts within the Mamluk dynasty and the Muslim nobility. As the struggle between the factions raised, Jalal-ud-Din Firuz Khilji led a coup and murdered the 17-year-old Mamluk successor Mu'izz-ud-Din Kayqubad, the last ruler of Mamluk dynasty. Jalal-ud-Din Firuz Khilji was accepted as sultan by a faction of Muslim emirs of Turkic, Persian, Arabic factions and Indian Muslim aristocrats. However, Jalal-ud-Din in his old age was unpopular and not universally accepted. During his 6-year reign, some of Balban's officers revolted due to his assumption of power and the subsequent sidelining of nobility and commanders serving the Mamluk dynasty. Jalal-ud-Din suppressed the revolt and executed some commanders, then led an unsuccessful expedition against Ranthambore and repelled a Mongol force on the banks of the Sindh River in central India with the help of his nephew Juna Khan. Alauddin Khilji, Juna Khan, later to be known as Alauddin Khilji, was the nephew and son-in-law of Jalal-ud-Din, raided the Hindu Deccan Peninsula and Deogiri, then the capital of the Hindu state of Maharashtra, looting their treasure. He returned to Delhi in 1296, murdered his uncle and father-in-law, then assumed power as sultan. Alauddin Khilji continued expanding Delhi Sultanate into South India, with the help of generals such as Malik Kafur and Khusraw Khan, collecting large war booty from those they defeated. His commanders collected war spoils from Hindu kingdoms, paid khums on Ganima to Sultan's treasury, which helped strengthen the Khalji rule. Alauddin Khilji reigned for 20 years. He attacked and seized Hindu states of Ranthambore, Chittagong, Mandu and plundered the wealthy state of Devagiri, also withstood 2 Mongol raids. Alauddin is also known for his cruelty against attacked kingdoms after wars. Historians note him as a tyrant and that anyone Alauddin Khilji suspected of being a threat to this power was killed along with the women and children of that family. In 1298, between 15,000 to 30,000 people near Delhi, who had recently converted to Islam, were slaughtered in a single day, due to fears of an uprising. He also killed his own family members and nephews, in 1299 to 1300, after he suspected them of rebellion, by first gouging out their eyes and then beheading them. In 1308, Alauddin's lieutenant, Malik Kafur captured Arangal, overthrew the Hoysala Empire south of the Krishna River and raided Madura in Tamil Nadu. He then looted the treasury and capitals and from the temples of South India. Among these loots was the Arangal loot that included one of the largest known diamond in human history, the Koh-i-Noor. Malik Kafur returned to Delhi in 1311, laden with loot and war booty from Deccan Peninsula which he submitted to Alauddin Khilji. This made Malik Kafur, born in a Hindu family and who had converted to Islam before becoming Delhi Sultanate's army commander, a favorite of Alauddin Khilji. The last Khilji sultans, Alauddin Khilji died in December 1315. Thereafter, the Sultanate witnessed chaos, coup and succession of assassinations. Malik Kafur, a unregistered trademark became the Sultan but lacked support from Muslim emirs and was killed within few months. Within the next 3 years, 3 more Khilji successors violently assumed power but were in turn, all violently put to death in coups. After Malik Kafur's death, the Muslim emirs installed Shihab-ud-din Omar, a 6-year-old as sultan, with his elder teenage brother Qutb-ud-din Mubarak Shah as regent. Qutb-ud-din Mubarak Shah killed his younger brother and then appointed himself as the sultan. To win over the loyalty of the emirs and the Malik clan in the sultanate, Mubarak Shah offered Ghazi Malik the command of Punjab and others various offices or death. The emirs chose the office. Mubarak Shah ruled for less than 4 years, then was murdered in 1320 by his army general Khusraw Khan. The Muslim emirs in Delhi reached out and invited Ghazi Malik, then Muslim army commander in Punjab, to lead a coup against Khusraw Khan. Ghazi Malik attacked Khusraw Khan in Delhi, beheaded him, and rechristened himself as Sultan Ghaith al-Din Tughlaq, the first ruler of the Tughlaq dynasty. Economic policy and administration under Khilji dynasty. Alauddin Khilji changed tax policies, raising agriculture taxes from 20% to 50% payable in grain and agricultural produce, eliminating payments and commissions on taxes collected by local chiefs, banned socialization among his officials as well as intermarriage between noble families to help prevent any opposition forming against him. He cut salaries of officials, poets and scholars in his kingdom. These tax policies and spending controls strengthened his treasury to pay the keep of his growing army. Alauddin Khilji enforced 4 taxes on non-Muslims in the Sultanate: jizya, kharaj, kari and chari. He also decreed that his Delhi-based revenue officers assisted by local Muslim Khuts, Muqaddims, Chaudhuris and Zamindars seize by force half of all produce any farmer generates, as a tax on standing crop, so as to fill Sultanate granaries. He demanded his wise men in the court to create rules and regulations in order to grind down the Hindus, so as to reduce them to abject poverty and deprive them of wealth and any form of surplus property that could foster a rebellion. The Tariq-i-Firoz Shahi notes: the people were brought to a state of obedience. No Hindu could hold up his head, and in their houses no sign of gold or silver or any superfluity was to be seen. These things which nourish insubordination and rebellion were no longer to be found. Tariq-i-Firoz Shahi. Alauddin Khilji taxation methods and increased taxes reduced agriculture output, and the Sultanate witnessed massive inflation. In order to compensate for salaries that he had cut and fixed for Muslim officials and soldiers, Alauddin introduced price controls on all agriculture produce, goods, livestock and slaves in kingdom, as well as controls on where, how and by whom these could be sold. Markets called Shahana-i-Mandi were created. Muslim merchants were granted exclusive permits and monopoly in these mandi to buy and resell at official prices. No one other than these merchants could buy from farmers or sell in cities. Alauddin deployed an extensive network of Maniyans who would monitor the mandi and had the power to seize anyone trying to buy or sell anything at a price different than the official prices. Those found violating these mandi rules were severely punished, such as by cutting out their flesh. Taxes collected in form of seized crops and grains were stored in Sultanate's granaries. Over time, farmers quit farming for income and shifted to subsistence farming. The general food supply worsened in North India, shortages increased, and Delhi Sultanate witnessed increasingly worse and extended periods of famines. The Sultan banned private storage of food by anyone. Rationing system was introduced by Alauddin as shortages multiplied. However, the nobility and his army were exempt from the per-family quota-based food rationing system. The shortages, price controls and rationing system caused starvation deaths of numerous rural people, mostly Hindus. However, during these famines, Khilji's Sultanate granaries and wholesale mandi system with price controls ensured sufficient food for his army, court officials and the urban population in Delhi. Slavery during Khilji dynasty. Within Sultanate's capital city of Delhi, during Alauddin Khilji's reign, at least half of the population were slaves working as servants, concubines and guards for the Muslim nobles, emirs, court officials and commanders. Slavery in India during Khalji, and later Islamic dynasties, included 2 groups of people: infidels seized during military campaigns as ghanima, and people who failed to pay jizya tax on time. The first group were infidel people seized during military campaigns as the Muslim army crossed through villages, as well as those seized during raids on central, western and southern Hindu kingdoms of India. The second group of people were revenue defaulters. Taxes during Khilji dynasty included both a portion of what a family produced, as well as fixed per head jizya tax regardless of income for all dhimmis. If a family failed to pay the annual tax in full on time, their property was seized and all their family members seized then sold as slaves. The institution of slavery and bondage labor became pervasive during the Khilji dynasty. Male slaves were referred to as banda, kaid, ulam, or burda, while female slaves were called bandi, kanis or laundi. Architecture. Alauddin Khilji is credited with the early Indo-Muhammadan architecture, a style and construction campaign that flourished during Tughlaq dynasty. Among works completed during Khilji dynasty, are Al-Darwaza, the southern gateway of Qutb complex enclosure, the Ija at Rapri, and the Jamaat Khana Mosque in Delhi. The Al-Darwaza, completed in 1311, was included as part of Qutb Minar and its monuments UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993. Perso-Arabic inscriptions on monuments have been traced to the Khilji dynasty era. Disputed historical sources on Khilji dynasty. Historians have questioned the reliability of historical accounts about the Khilji dynasty. Genuine primary sources and historical records from 1260 to 1349 period have not been found. One exception is the short chapter on Delhi Sultanate from 1302 to 1303 AD by Wasaf in Persia, which is duplicated in Jami al-Tawarik, and which covers the Bourbon rule, start of Jalal ad-Din Chili's rule and circumstances of succession of Alauddin Khilji. A semi-fictional poetry by Yamin al-Din Abul Hussein, also known as Amir Khusraw Dahlawi, is full of adulation for his employer, the reigning sultan. Abu Hassan's adulation-filled narrative poetry has been used as source of Khilji dynasty history, but this is a disputed source. Three historical sources, composed 30 to 115 years after the end of Khilji dynasty, are considered more independent but also questioned given the gap in time. These are Asami's epic of 1349, Diyai Barani's work of 1357 and Sir Hindi's account of 1434, which possibly relied on now-lost text or memories of people in Khilji's court. Of these, Barani's text is the most referred and cited in scholarly sources. Position in Turkic Indian society, the Khilji Turks were not recognized by the older nobility as coming from a pure Turkic stock, even in Singham and Khuzlan and Arab Bedouins. Their customs and manners were seen as different from those of other Turks. Although they had played a role in the success of the Turkic armies in India, they had always been looked down upon by the leading Turks. This tension between the Khaljis and other Turks surfaced in the following reign, and ended in the displacement of the Ilbari Turks. Khalji people. Before their expansion into India, the Khalji people were mainly concentrated in Turkestan, from one of the older members of the Hephthalite Confederation, and included many nomads near Bactria and east of modern Azi. Many migrated to various parts of Persia, including to parts of what are now Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan and India, then under the control of the Ghaznavids. In Iran they migrated mainly to Pars, where they settled an isolated region which is called today Kyrgyzstan. However, Persian speakers in Iran also used the term Khalji to describe nomads of Turkic background in their country. The Khaljis began to become Pashtunized since the 8th century and later known as Ghilzais, part of the Pashtun ethnic group. List of Khilji rulers of Delhi. See also, Delhi Sultanate, Ghilzai, Khalj people, Hepthalites, Turkic people, Persianate society, Ikhtiyaruddin Muhammad bin Bakhtiyor Khalji, list of Sunni Muslim dynasties, references and footnotes. Further reading, Vincent A. Smith, The Oxford History of India, From the Earliest Times to the End of 1911, pages 230, at Google Books, Oxford University Press, Peter Jackson, The Delhi Sultanate, A Political and Military History, Cambridge University Press, external links, Encyclopaedia Britannica, Khalji Dynasty, Khilji, A Short History of Muslim Rule in India I Prasad, University of Allahabad, The Role of Ulama in Indo-Muslim History, Aziz Ahmad, Studia Islamica, No. 31, pages 1 to 13.